funnily enough, through reading your book, I was reminded of something that I'd forgotten. I mean, everyone knows that you played with Steve Vai and strapping young lad and all those sorts of things. Now, I have some friends in a band that you played with.
Wildhearts.
Yep, certainly is the Wildhearts. Yeah. Well, CJ actually lives in the house next door to the house I grew up in. Yeah.
Really? Where are you? You're in Leeds.
I'm in Leeds. He lives in Harrogate now.
So it's so interesting. When I was in the band, we were in Wednesbury, which is right, like, it's like a mole on the back of Birmingham, right? And I remember just going from Steve Vai and all that shit. I met Steve when I was 19 and moved to LA, and just someone puts an egg beater in your brain for a couple of years. And then I found myself in Wednesbury in a council house with the entire band and the management down the street. And, at the time I didn't drink, I didn't do drugs. I was and it was just, dude, it was such a lesson in violence, man. It was unbelievable.
You couldn't have gone from more polar extremes.
Yeah, but it was authentic. It was authentic, and I loved the music, and I loved the guys. You know what I mean?
That first album is a classic.
Oh, it's incredible. That's right. I joined right when they released Fuck, right? So it was like right at the tail end of Earth Versus, and they were out with us with Steve Vai, and Ginger and I were equal weirdos on opposite sides of a strange coin, right? So we related to each other in enough ways to confuse the shit out of each other for a couple of years. But I think the thing that was so important to me about being in that band is it was real. And I just don't, like, after being in LA, and I'm not saying that Steve wasn't, because Steve's a wonderful longtime friend of mine, but LA was certainly full of shit, dude. And being a kid from Vancouver, although we have the same ridiculous accent, it's like, it's very different in the States than it is to Canada. And so all of a sudden I found myself in LA, and I was just like, oh my God, I don't relate to any of this. And so when all of a sudden the Wildhearts were out on tour with us, and I remember seeing them like just being like reckless in ways that I didn't relate to. I was like, well, at least that makes sense to me. I know why they're upset. I know why they feel that way. It's like, it's not, even if they wanted to, I don't think they could suppress what they were truly feeling. CJ, Danny, Rich, Ginger, their whole thing. And so I ended up spending time with them. And then when when CJ and Ginger had their thing, Ginger called me to come over. And it was, we really had a good time, and we toured, and we had a lot of fun together. But at the same time, it was like pretty clear to everybody that I was like just as weird in the Wildhearts as I was in fucking Steve Vai's band, right? But the difference is I had a lot of love for the entire organization, and and with what Ginger's going through right now well, it's a hell of a thing. But yeah, man, Wildhearts, it's like that was a feather in my weird cap, because I was very proud to be a part of that band. Musically, they came from a different place than me. Like, I was not a Kiss fan. I was not a New York Dolls fan or any of that stuff. It was like that kind of, or the sort of the David Bowie stuff, the more glammy sort of thing that, they're certainly not glammy, but they drew influences from things that were all new to me, right? I think the only thing that we really audaciously shared in common was a love for the toy dolls.
Well, Ginger has got a proclivity for progressive rock.
Oh yeah, no, that's for sure. Ginge, I think, because at the time also is Endless Nameless, and he had done all the things, like the clam abuse and all that Mutation stuff, and for sure I was on one of the Mutation records as well, but it was less what their interests were, because Ginger's always super well rounded, more so than I think, when it came to like musical interests. He was always the Zapp and the Beefheart and the Miles Davis and all that sort of thing. the things that we didn't share in common at the time is I loved thrash metal. You know, I just loved it. I just wanted everything to have that guitar sound. I loved Fear Factory at the time, and Carcass, and Morbid Angel. And at the time, I remember playing it on the bus, and they're all just looking at me like I was wearing their sweater, right? But the breadth of that band in terms of what they were able to represent was extreme. But their primary influences were just things that a lot of it I just was new to. You know, I didn't play in standard. I'd never played a Les Paul. I did. I look like such a dork on stage with Les Paul too, man. But again, it was great. It was a fantastic experience. And by the end of it, I think we got actually fairly tight. We were out with Suicidal Tendencies for a few months, and by the end of it, I thought we sounded really good.
Excellent.
Not at the beginning, man. I was out of tune. First show I think we ever did was Reading Festival, and sounded like my guitar was like, in an entirely different band, right?
Yeah. So swinging back, I think we've gone down the Wildhearts path a little far. Swinging back round to the Moth. I was talking to a gentleman who has his own record label who makes soundtracks for movies that don't exist. They're called Library of the Occult is what they're called. We were talking about how to make a soundtrack for a movie that doesn't exist, and he was telling me about each character has a theme generally when you're doing a soundtrack. He was telling me then there's different variants of that. So you'll have like the happy version, and then the evil version, and then the love scene version, etc. Was that a similar sort of thing you did in the Moth?
Yep. Lexon's got a theme. Orion's got a theme. There's a Moth theme. The Muse has got a theme. The protagonist has got a theme. It's like, the overarching narrative is that of just the hero's journey. It was a simple narrative just because it's like, easy enough to grasp onto, and not being somebody who's like a story writer. I just needed something to illustrate. But that's exactly how we did it. That's exactly how we did it, is we put together themes, we've got orchestrators, and we just started to try and adhere those themes to some sort of a story that went along with the hero's journey. So, for example, in the part where there's like a resolution, which characters are involved, and at which point do those themes interact, and how do those themes interact, and I think the primary objective with the Moth, knowing going into it that the bureaucracy involved with putting together a multi-million-dollar show for Broadway or the West End, it's just, you gotta be a different type of character, I think, than I got a buddy who does those things. Like, that's what he does. He writes for it. But he's just so like, that when he goes into those scenarios, he's like the guy. Everybody wants that guy, but I'm not that guy, man. I'm a fucking weirdo. So it's like, if anybody's going to spend the amount of money to make Moth what I want it to be, they're going to have to let me have more say than is probably reasonable for that type of investment. So I chose to make it more like an audio cinema, so that as opposed to being like, in absence of a theater production, this doesn't make any emotional sense. I was like, well, in my mind's eye, I see it. So I'll make it such that when I listen to it in my headphones, it's like a way for my imagination to create these scenarios. And then eventually, once we've got the rollout for the record, and once it's been presented as is and without any need for it to be adhered to anything else for it to be of value to people, then potentially we can put the story out and the screenplay and all that. But it's done.
Yeah, well, I gave some mind myself to, because I was talking to this guy about his soundtracks and all that, and I was thinking, could I do that? And then I was thinking, I honestly think I'm so conditioned to writing in song formats that might take a little bit of shaking. Did you find that?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I kind of am stream of conscious just to begin with when it comes to music, and any opportunities that I can have to do that, I'll take over writing actual like verse, chorus, verse songs. And it's not because I don't think that art form is beautiful and worthy, but how many times like active rock radio, for example. There's that thing in North America called active rock, and it's when it first started, it was like, labels would try to get your music or my music onto this active rock thing. But now when I hear that, it's like all the same kick, drum, and snare sound, and the format's exactly the same.
Oh yeah,
isolated guitar breaks into the first chorus about 133 beats per minute, maybe 124. No vocals, half the chorus, brings it down to a quiet verse. Quiet verse is like a different thing. It could be minor, maybe. Pre-chorus, a little bigger, sets it up. There's the chorus again. You do it, big chorus. Second verse is a little more big, but it's, but it's still second chorus, big, midsection, you know what I mean? Solo or key change or whatever. Then it breaks down again to the beginning, and then it's got a double chorus, and then it fade out and in.
Yep.
Every song.
Yep.
Every song. And it's like, when I do that, I can kind of achieve a similar thing, I guess, to a certain degree. But I just do it. I'm like, fuck, it's that thing again.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Right?
Yeah, I hear you.
But the thing that's shocking about it is how successful it still is.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are like, oh my God, this is the fucking shit. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's the same. It's just, or they got the little, like the vocal thing before the chorus. Wanna try to go. Bam! Right? And it's just like, fuck, there it is. Yeah. It's so predictable. So I will do that and have done it and will continue to do it. But a lot of times I'm just like, I'll do what I feel like, which is more based on this kind of stream of conscience thing, which works for me. I'm not saying it's good for everybody, but it works for me. But a lot of times people are like, man, I wish you'd write songs again. I'm going, dude, it's fucking, okay, here's some more.
Yeah.
You're a power nerd.
Well, this is the thing, yeah. I mean, I don't like to be snobby about anything, but like, obviously, I get sent a lot of press releases, and I can tell within the first paragraph what the song sounds like already.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Before I've even listened to it, it will say something like the inner struggle of something, or heartbreak or something. I'm just like, I don't need to. It's fine.
No, they go, they've managed to harness the moment in their minimal ways.
Ultra powerful, yeah. Really driving home the discontent that society is feeling in a magical chorus. It's just like, oh yeah, I heard that one.
well, that's the thing, right? But I mean, I think as creators, we've got basically two choices. You do what the fuck you want.
Easy.
And then you throw it out there, and then if society's just like, yeah, no, we don't want that, then you have a choice to make. Or you do what is acceptable within any particular period of time, and then if you're like me, you release subpar versions of things that are already happening. It's like, why would you... I remember when I was younger hearing a band that I was like, oh my God, I love that. And then writing a song that was exactly that, and then showing it to people, and their reaction was just like, "Oh yeah, that sounds like this band." And I remember thinking, it makes me feel cool when I was younger to sound like a cool band, but it wasn't me, know. And I often think that Meshuggah is a great example of this. I love those guys, and I love the band, and we've been hacking it out in the same scene for 700 years together or whatever. But why would I want to sound like them? I'm not them. It's only ever going to be like a version of them. Yeah. And what the hardest part, I think, as a creator is when you look in and find your own voice and realize that maybe it's not viewed as cool as other people. Like by being who I am, whatever it is, prog metal, Weird Al Yankovic or whatever it is, it's like, is that as cool as some of these other bands, like as the Gajiras or the Meshuggahs or whatever? It's like, probably not, but it's what I do. So the sooner I get over the fact that what I am isn't as accepted as other bands being what they are, the sooner I can just start working, It's like, it's acceptance of ourselves in all the nuts and bolts, all the quirks and foibles, all the weirdness that is us. I remember hearing a quote years ago that I always stick to. It's like, if you're always telling the truth, then you never have to remember anything.
True. Yep. Absolutely. You see, I don't need help being unfashionable. I've got an 18-year-old to tell me. So
I got a 20-year-old. I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. So it's funny. It's like if people are holding a mirror up to you and saying, "See how uncool you are." If what I come back with is like, "Oh fuck, you think I don't know?"
Yeah, my answer would be like, wait till you get to my age, and you'll realize the importance of being yourself.
Well, even beyond that, I just think to myself, like, the energy that it takes for somebody in my position to say to somebody, "It's okay if you don't like what I am and who I am and what I do." The energy that it takes to say just that is actually you being nice to people, because you don't need to say anything.
Nope.
And I think, the way that I tend to contend with all these things is like, I don't look at YouTube comments. I do what I do. I put it out there. I do it to the best of my ability. I know it's not perfect. I know that there can always be things that are better or worse and up and down or sideways and shoulda, woulda, coulda, and snare sound and all these sorts of things.
Oh, snares. Yeah.
But the difference between what myself and the organization that I'm involved in does versus people who complain to the extent that that's what they do professionally almost, is that the people who succeed in getting their ideas out have failed more times than the people who don't succeed have even tried because they're afraid of looking foolish.
Yeah.
So focus the energy then on getting over the embarrassment of the perception of looking foolish. If that's where the energy goes to, you're fucking golden, man.
Yeah. And also get used to having to explain things to people. Like,
no, I don't think you need to do that either. I don't think you need to do that. I think you can explain it to the people who you want to explain it to, but you're under no obligation to explain yourself. I think the only obligation that I feel, obligation that I feel is that I'm able to recognize that whatever I put the energy into, I understand in my heart enough that if people misinterpret it, I can be able to say, that's not what I meant. And not just like conveniently, like retroactively, but just be like, no. I'm willing to go to these places psychologically, creatively, existentially, or whatever in my own heart, because these are things that I have vetted enough to know whether or not it's important for me to say. If it's important for me to go to those places, again, it's not important, but if it's important to me, then if somebody comes back and says, "Hey, this record is about this," or "Why did you say this?" or whatever, I'm like, that's not what I said. That's not what I'm, Your interpretation of that is entirely subjective and up to you, of course. But if the sole criteria that I utilize in order to make these statements is whether or not I'm accountable to myself and whether or not it's right for me, then from there, I mean, I'm willing to rationalize it to people who are cool, but I got no desire to explain it to people who are just trying to be an asshole, right?
Well, I was reminded of that because of something you said earlier about people at Sony or whatever, and I've had some dealings with major labels, and I've been asked, "So what do we market this as?" And I'm like, I don't know. Which box does it fit in?
Okay, so here's where it comes to with my relationship with Sony. First off, Sony is the affiliate of Inside Out, which is who I'm signed to. But I'm also Inside Out takes it from Heavy Devi Records, so it's this weird polygamous relationship. But I've been with Inside Out for so long, and I've been friends with the guys there for so long, Thomas and Freddie and everybody, right? That it's like I kind of got a seat at the table only just because I got seniority. But I don't think that had my records from the past not recouped, that I'd still be with them. Like, there's no incentive for a label like that to hang on to a dude like me if he's not, recouping the advances. But I'm so fortunate to have an audience that has been supportive of this. That we don't sell a ton of records, but we do sell enough that this label's like, well, I guess this fucking weirdo is sell enough to warrant another one. And so I am grateful for these cracks that I feel I've slipped through as an entity, because man, to be able to utilize the team that comes with like Sony or what have you, it's like we're not a high priority for them by any chance, but they've got a machine that, in the attempts that I've made to market my own music, like with the puzzle, like we did it independently, good luck, man. It's just, I took for granted how much effort and how much of a team it takes just to sort of make inroads in general nowadays, right? So, so as much shit as like a label like Sony might take, I'm grateful for it because it allows me to continue doing my thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. As a creative, I think I don't know if you'd agree, but I see it as you're sending transmissions out into the world and hoping people receive them.
Yeah,
or they're tuned into the right channel. You know.
Yeah, and I would say that even the I don't know if it's an adjective or an adverb, but hope. What is that? Is it adjective? I guess it could be both, depending on how it's used. But for whatever, maybe we could even use a different word. I put it out into the world. Maybe with the only expectation being that the authenticity that I hope to put into the music by just choosing to do and follow these things blindly, in a sense, maybe will inspire other people to do the same. But that transmission and what the music is necessarily, whether or not it's Moth or Strapping or Hummer or whatever, is not really important. It's not the transmission, it's the intent. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally makes sense, and actually ties in with the reason why I do this magazine every month is so that it's not time sensitive. I want other musicians to pick it up and read something that they're one of the musicians inside, whether it be Sun, Big Brave, yourself, has said, and think, that gives me an idea. You know?
Oh my God, right? Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's like, do I want to be seen as the only person that can do this sort of thing? No, because I'm not the only person that can do these things. It's like patterns and techniques and organizations and interpersonal skills, and those things can be taught, I think. And you know, the end result of that process is not going to sound like me. It's going to sound like the person.
Yeah.
And if I can be a part of promoting that and just say, hey, listen, everybody's unique. Everybody can do this to some degree. Like, find your voice. This is how I found mine. Does what I do make any sense to you? No, it's fine. Doesn't matter. It's because my interests are not what your interests are. So it's not about the music. It's about, but doing it and not just talking about it. And also like hanging your balls out on the line and being like, I got a buddy, for example, who's been working on an album of his for like longer than the Moth, but he's never put a record out. So every time he goes to do it, he's like, okay, I'm actually going to redo the guitar sound, and I got a new idea, and we're going to add this. And it's like this never-ending record. And I was saying to him, I was like, dude, just fucking put it out. And he's like, yeah, but it's not done yet. People are going to criticize it. I'm like, I guarantee you it's going to be criticized even if it's done, no matter. And the reason why it keeps changing is because it's too old now. Like the things that inspired you to write that song 10 years ago, of course you want a different guitar sound now. Of course that chorus is boring now because it's 10 years later.
Yeah.
So if you had just gotten it out, dealt with the fact that, Joe Fuckbot 243 thinks that your kick drum sounds like shit and what's wrong with your compression and this guy's never going anywhere or whatever. You just fucking fuck it and then make another one. And then make another one. And then make another one. And it's like, I remember when, it's like you put out something that's linear and people are like, oh, we want something complicated. You put out something complicated. Oh, we want something linear. It's like you can't gauge your acceptance and your validation of whatever idea that you have based on any release ever. It's the fact that you did it. It's the fact that you were, and I'm not talking about me, but I'm talking about like people who've never put out a record, but it's the fact that you're brave enough to put it out.
Yeah.
You know, and people are like, well, it's not perfect. Well, if you ever make a perfect record, you'll never make another record. There's like, there's no perfect records. It's like every time I put out something, I'm just trying to be like, next time I won't fuck that up, or next time I won't fuck that up, or next time we'll do this, or next time we'll do this. It's like the process is imperfect. So focus on the intent.
Absolutely. And then you next tell them a chapter on the beauty of imperfection.
or just the juxtaposition of imperfection versus AI's perfection. I mean, I think we can make a real practical case for why accepting our imperfections are important nowadays more than any other time in history, because we got something to compare it to.
Absolutely.
Like, it's funny. It's like we are hiring companies to make videos for us with digital graphics with small budgets, as opposed to typing it into Sora and getting, these incredible visions. Why? Because it's like, it's the intent. What are you doing? It's a community. We're trying to create a community, whether or not it's with our Patreon at Devin Townsend, or if it's our team, or if it's the people who work with us or whatever. It's like, it's a human thing, and it's none of the results are what we hang our hat on. It's the fact that we've, attempted, and that's the end of it. We attempted, right?
Absolutely. And I think there's more of a premium on the human element developing now anyway, because
100% agree.
100% agree. I'd much rather see someone play on a banged up acoustic guitar in a dusty old bar than listen to like AI music.
Well, see, up to the point where we had AI to juxtapose it, though, I mean, myself included, everybody was like chasing perfection, as if it was like part of the human condition. And it's almost like by getting that juxtaposition of AI, it's like, oh, actually, what the human condition is fundamentally rooted in is being fucking imperfect.
Yeah, flawed.
So flawed. So as opposed to feeling that you failed as a result of your record not being perfect, I much prefer to say I did the best that I could with the time that I had. Yeah. And any flaws that are in there are indicative of that struggle. And yeah, man, I find that it's like there's a term called Bach faucet, I heard, that I thought was amazing.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so essentially AI is referred to from the same lens as what I guess back in Johann Sebastian Bach's time, not the Skid Row Bach, but the other one. His output of creative ideas was so consistently brilliant that people just, the value of it went away.
Right.
So whenever he put something out, people are like, oh, it's just Bach, it's brilliant. But it wasn't like, oh my God, if this was Joe Blow here, this would fucking be a revolution. But because it was this guy, it's like, and the Bach faucet got applied to AI. This is where I heard it.
Wow.
So when I first saw Midjourney and I was able to type in, lizard guitar player with dungarees on a mountaintop with a Les Paul, and it came up in like 30 seconds in a bunch of, I was just like, holy fuck, right? But then after a while, you're just like, oh, it's AI.
Yeah.
So you stop seeing the incredible nature of it, and more just like it's the sort of like, oh, because it's consistently fucking perfect, it now no longer affects me emotionally, right?
Mm.
And so I think that that's happened, and so yeah, that's why I fucked up.
Well, mate, I think we've covered a lot here, and it's been an absolute joy to speak to you.
You too, brother.
Yeah, man, just absolutely. Here's for the individuals and making the record that you want to hear.
Totally. And if you know what, if it's like, if they don't like them, if they don't like it, also keep in mind that anybody who's writing really cruel things on the internet, a lot of them are probably not bad people. You just, you're catching them on a day, and they just like, they don't realize that it's other humans there. So if you're a creator, just don't read it.
Yeah. I mean, you've got too busy to read that shit.
Yeah, sometimes. But it is nice every now and then just to scroll like an idiot. But that's the next step. So we'll bring that hourly thing down. Thanks for the interview, brother. We'll talk to each other soon.
Nice one. Thank you so much, Devin.